factoring trinomials where a equals 1. Now, on your warm-up, we have talked about this a little bit before, and so just remember as a hint, and I'll write that, hint, you can use the FOIL method or the box method. Okay, factoring trinomials where a is 1. We're going to do the box method on these. And basically what we're doing on these first few is we're kind of working in reverse to figure out what the trinomial is. And you can see that here in the box method. As you can see on this first one, we have x and x give us x squared, right? And that's what you're going to keep doing. So I'm going to say right here, 5 and x give me 5x. 7 and x give me 7x. Okay, what about 5 and 7? If I multiply 5 and 7, what does that give me? 35. Now, all you have to do is combine like terms, right? So x squared goes by itself. There's nothing to combine there. Plus, because I don't have any negatives there, well, x and 7x together give me 12x. And then 35 is by itself, but it's a positive 35. And there you go. There is your trinomial. Okay, and you've solved it. Now, as you can see on these next couple, we're missing, right? We're missing what's out here, but it gives us what is inside of the box. We're going to use that to solve in reverse again. So let's take a look. I want you to try this one on your own, so I'm going to leave it for a second. Let's take a look at this one here, this third example. So x squared. Well, what would have had to have multiplied together to get x squared? X and x, right? Just like on our first two examples. What about 3x? What would have had to have multiplied with x to get 3x? 3, right? 3 times x is 3x. Now, I have x up here and I have 4 down here. What would have to multiply together with x to get 4x? 4. And now that you have these two outside, what's 4 times 3? 12, right? That's all you have to do. So you have x squared, right? 3x and 4x together. We can put those together. Give me 7x, okay? And then 12 by itself, but it's a positive, and there you go. There is your trinomial, okay? Let's solve this one, okay? So on this one, again, x and x together give me x squared. What would have to multiply by x to get 7x? 7. Okay, now down here, let's see, x and something. Oh, okay, well that's kind of weird, right? We're missing something here. I don't know what that's supposed to be, but I know that whatever it is multiplies with 7 to get 28. So think about that. You are going to finish this one on your own, right? You need to find this part and then give me that full trinomial, okay? Those two you are going to solve on your own. All right, let's look at that next part there. All right, now this time it's a little bit different. It gives us the trinomial, then it gives us part of it factored, but it wants us to fill in the blanks for the factor and for the box. Notice this is like FOIL. This is our box. We are going to fill out both. Now, sorry that's confusing, I know, because I was using those to show you which ones you're doing, but we're going to actually do this example 1 together. So first of all, it gives you the trinomial. It says that x squared plus 9x plus 14 is equal to x plus something times x plus 7. Now, what's great about this one is it shows you it both ways. Now, you can solve whichever way makes more sense to you when you start doing it on your own and it doesn't give you so much to go off of. But basically, it's just saying what am I multiplying and adding together to get this equation right here? I didn't mean to erase. To get this equation right here. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the box since we've been working with the box so far. X and x give us x squared. X and something, something, right? Now, x and 7 give us 7x. Now, 7 and something give us 14. Well, what times 7 gives you 14? 2, right? 2 times 7 is 14. So 2 must go in this blank, which means that 2 and x together give us 2x. Now, if that's true, I'm now given everything I have. Well, here's my x plus 7, x plus 7, x plus 2, x plus 2. And there you go. You've solved everything, right? Example, I think you can handle example 2 on your own. Okay, I already know I want a box, so I'm going to use that box method. It does not have to be perfect. Thankfully, Miss Bailey's iPad will straighten it out for her, but it does not have to be beautiful by any means. You're just telling me, what did I add and multiply together to get this right here? Well, already I can see that I have x squared. Well, remember, we know that x and x together give us that x squared, okay? Now, we're trying to figure out how we got this 11x. How did we get 11x? Well, remember, we're going to add those two x's together. So, we have to do two things. We know that here in a minute it'll be x plus something, x plus something, right? There's no negatives. We know it's going to be positive. What adds together to get 11? So, we want to know, and you do not have to write this down, what adds to get 11? So we know something has to add together to get 11, but the next part is it also has to multiply to get 18. So a lot of things might add to 11, but they don't all add, or they don't all multiply to get 18, right? So, for example, I know that 6 plus 5 gets me 11. But if I multiply 6 times 5, what does that give me? 30. So that cannot be your answer because it has to be able to multiply to 18 as well. So let's keep thinking. What if we did, hopefully some of you are already kind of thinking about it, what if we try 2 and 9? So is 9 plus 2 11? Yep, it is. So that works, right? 2 times x is 2x. 9 times x is 9x. 9x and 2x give us 11x. And then if I multiply, I do 9 times 2. Does it give me 18? It does. So that works out perfectly. And now you have everything. I have x plus 2, x plus 9. And you have solved. And that's all you have to do. Try example 2 and example 3 on your own. Remember, these should be going in your Algebra 1 folder. Hopefully you have copied what I wrote down and you have solved your own. Let's look at one more together because now we're actually looking at, if you can see, negatives, right? Which is going to kind of change things a little bit. But we still get to use all of the same methods. So once again, I'm going to create my box. Okay, I am going to set it up how I like it. Again, it does not have to be perfect. It just needs to make sense. But things have changed a little bit because now we have a negative number, which is kind of confusing. So what we're going to do is we're going to see what it looks like when we have a negative, but same kind of thing. We're still seeing, oh, sorry, trying to get my page to set up for me. We're still seeing What adds together to get 4x, but multiplies to get negative 12? So this is where it gets a little bit trickier. We have to do some really, really hard thinking, okay? But once again, look at that. We've got x squared. So I know that that is x and x. Because if I multiply those x's together, I'm going to get x squared. So there's that first part. Easy peasy, lemon parcheesi, right? We want that, we're good. But now let's look at the next part. What adds to get positive 4, but multiplies to get negative 12? So what do you know already? Like, you know this has to be in there. One of your numbers has to be negative, because if you multiply two positive numbers, are you going to get a negative? You're not. If you multiply two negative numbers, are you going to get a negative? No, negative times a negative is a positive, right? So one of your numbers has to be a negative. So basically, really you could think about it, it's almost like subtracting. We're still adding, we're just adding a negative number, right? So what could we do to get 4 but multiply to get negative 12? We could try a few different things, right? We could try 10. We could try 10 and negative 6 together, and that gives me 4, right? And that's perfect, that's what I want. But if I multiply 10 and negative 6, what does that give me? Negative 60. Well, that's not negative 12, so that's not going to work. So let's try something else. Okay, let's get rid of that. What if we could try something maybe a little smaller. We could do 5 plus negative 1, right, or minus 1. And that does give me 4, which is exactly what I'm wanting. But if I multiply 5 times negative 1, I got a little too excited and wrote too many things there. What does that give me? Negative 5. So that's not going to work. Well, think about some things that might multiply to 12. What multiplies to 12? 3 and 4. Oh, but that's not going to add together, right? What about 6 and 2? Well, I know that 6 and 2 multiply to get 12. What if I do 6 and negative 2 together? Does that give me 4? It does. What if I do 6 times negative 2? Does that give me 12? It does. So that is what it has to be, right? So I'm going to say negative 2. So negative 2 into x give me negative 2x. 6, and then 6 times x is 6x. 6 times negative 2 is negative 12. And now you have every part, right? Now, again, I know that we're putting those together, but that's the same thing as saying x minus 2 and x plus 6. Okay? You are going to try example 5 on your own. Okay? Try that one out. All right. Last one we're going to look at together, example 7. Take a look. Again, you know you're going to need that box. Okay. Oh, maybe. Oh, that one's not going to straighten out for me. Try it again, sorry. Right, there we go. Okay. So, on this one, again, we know that it's got to be x and x because x times x gives us that x squared. But think about this, positive 3. So it has to add to positive 3 and multiply to 4. So I could do 1 plus 2. Is there any other way to add to 3? There's not, right? I could do 1 plus 1 plus 1. But I only want 2 numbers. Is there any other way that I could add? No. And unfortunately, if I were to do 1 times 2, does that give me 4? It doesn't. Can this be factored? No. They cannot. It can't be factored. So that's it. It's a trick question.